The Grand Hall on the Calreth homeworld was filled with thousands of alien dignitaries. Admiral Vexer stood at the center platform, his 3 eyes gleaming with pride. Behind him, a massive holographic display showed a blue and green planet orbiting a distant star. "This world belongs to the Calreth Dominion now," Vexer announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The humans built a settlement there without our permission. They call it Kepler 442. We call it a mistake." The crowd of alien officials murmured their approval. The Calreth were known across the galaxy as conquerors. Their empire stretched across 50 star systems. They had been traveling between worlds for over 3,000 years. Humans, by comparison, were newcomers. They had only left their home planet 200 years ago. "These humans think they can claim any world they want," Vexer continued. "They are wrong. This will be their first settlement in our territory. It will also be their last. We have given them 30 days to leave. If they refuse, we will remove them by force." The hall erupted in cheers. No one doubted the Calreth would succeed. Their fleet was legendary. Their weapons could turn entire planets into lifeless rocks. What chance did a small human colony have against such power? Across the galaxy on Earth, Commander Jason Blake sat in his office at Colonial Defense Headquarters. The room was quiet except for the hum of computers. Jason stared at the message on his screen. It was the Calreth ultimatum. The door opened. Lisa Morgan walked in carrying a datapad. She was Jason's tactical officer and had been working with him for 5 years. Her face was serious. "They are not bluffing," Lisa said. "Our scouts confirmed it. 4 Calreth battlecruisers are already moving toward Kepler 442. Each one is twice the size of our largest ship." Jason nodded slowly. He had expected this. The Outer Rim territories were rich in resources. Many alien species wanted to control them. Humanity had claimed several worlds in that region, hoping to expand peacefully. But peace was becoming harder to maintain. "How many people live on Kepler 442? Jason asked. 15,000, Lisa replied. "Families mostly. They spent years in cryosleep to get there. Many of them sold everything they owned for a chance at a new life." Jason stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the lights of the city stretching to the horizon. Earth was crowded. Humanity needed new worlds, but every time they tried to expand, someone tried to stop them. "Get me Greg Patterson," Jason said. "I need to know everything about the Calreth reconnaissance data." 20 minutes later, Greg Patterson arrived. He was the intelligence specialist for the Colonial Defense Team. Greg was young but brilliant. He could find patterns in data that others missed. "I have been studying the Calreth scans of Kepler 442, Greg said, spreading holographic images across the table. "They did extensive orbital surveillance. Very detailed. But here's the interesting part. They never landed on the planet. Not once." Jason leaned forward. "Why not?" "They did not think it was necessary," Greg explained. "From orbit, Kepler 442 looks like a typical frontier colony. Small buildings, farms, a basic spaceport. The Calreth assumed they knew everything they needed to know." Lisa frowned. "But they are wrong?" Greg smiled slightly. "Orbital scans can only see so much. They show the surface. They can detect large metal structures. But they cannot see everything underground. And they cannot tell what a building is really used for unless they go inside." Jason felt a spark of hope. "Show me the detailed layout of the colony." Greg pulled up more images. They showed the settlement from above. There were residential buildings arranged in neat rows, agricultural domes for growing food, mining facilities on the outskirts, a small hospital and school. Everything looked normal. "Now look at this," Greg said. He overlay another image showing underground scans that humanity had made during construction. Beneath the surface, there were massive structures. Deep tunnels, reinforced chambers, weapons storage, command centers. "The Calreth have no idea," Lisa whispered. "No idea at all," Greg confirmed. "They think they are attacking a defenseless colony. They do not know what we really built there." Jason turned to his computer and typed a message. It was classified at the highest level. The message would be transmitted through quantum channels that took weeks to reach the Outer Rim, but it would arrive in time. The message had only 2 words. "Protocol Homestead, on Kepler 442. Governor Helen Price was in her office when the message arrived. She was a tall woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been a military engineer before becoming governor. She knew exactly what Protocol Homestead meant. Helen called an emergency meeting with her senior staff. Danny Cooper arrived first. He was the security chief, a former Marine who had trained thousands of soldiers. Patricia Ward came next. She was the chief engineer, responsible for maintaining all the colony's systems. "We just received authorization for Protocol Homestead," Helen said quietly. Danny's expression hardened. "The Calrith are coming." "Yes," Helen confirmed. "They gave us 30 days to evacuate. We are not leaving." Patricia pulled up construction plans on her tablet. "We have been preparing for this possibility since we arrived. Every building in this settlement has a secondary purpose. The colonists know what to do." "Do they understand what this means?" Danny asked. "If we activate Protocol Homestead, we are choosing to fight. People will die." Helen nodded. "I know, but if we leave, we lose everything. Not just this colony. Every human settlement in the Outer Rim will be at risk. Other alien species will see that we can be pushed around. We have to make a stand here." She looked at both of them. 5 years ago, humanity decided to build settlements that could defend themselves. We disguised military installations as civilian buildings. We prepared for the day when someone would try to take what we built. That day has come. Danny stood straighter. "Then we will show them what humans are capable of." Patricia smiled grimly. "The Calrith think this will be easy. They think we are just farmers and families. They are going to be very surprised." Helen walked to the window and looked out at the settlement. Children were playing in the streets. Families were having dinner. Everyone looked peaceful and happy. But beneath that peace was something the Calrith could not see. Beneath the surface was strength. Beneath the homes were bunkers. Beneath the farms were weapons. "Send out the alert," Helen ordered. "Begin evacuation to the shelters. Activate all defensive systems. And send a message back to Commander Blake. Tell him we received his authorization. Tell him Kepler 442 is ready." As night fell on the colony, people began moving underground. They did it calmly, efficiently. They had practiced this many times. The children thought it was a drill. The adults knew better. Above the planet, sensors detected the approaching Calrith fleet. 4 massive battle cruisers emerged from faster-than-light travel. They moved into orbit like predators circling prey. Admiral Vexer looked down at the human settlement from his command ship. It looked small and vulnerable. He smiled. This would be over quickly. The humans would see his ships and surrender. If they did not, he would destroy them. But Helen Price did not surrender. She sent a simple message back to the Calrith fleet. "Kepler 442 is our home. We are staying." Vexer laughed when he received it. Human courage was admirable but pointless. In 30 days, this colony would be nothing but dust and memories. He had no idea how wrong he was. The 30 days passed quickly. The Calrith fleet moved into position above Kepler 442. Admiral Vexer sat in his command chair, watching the planet rotate slowly below. His tactical officer, Zarn, stood beside him with a data pad. "All ships report ready," Zarn said. "We can begin the assault at your command." Vexer nodded. "Send one final message to the humans. Give them one last chance to surrender." The message was transmitted to the surface. Governor Helen Price received it in her underground command center. She read it aloud to her staff. "Admiral Vexer offers us safe passage off the planet. He promises not to harm anyone if we leave peacefully. He says resistance is pointless." Danny Cooper shook his head. "Does he really think we will believe him?" "It does not matter what he thinks," Helen said. "Send our response." The message that went back to the Calrith fleet was short and clear. "Your terms are rejected. Kepler 442 is our home and we will defend it." On the command ship, Vexer read the human response and laughed. Such brave words from such a weak species. "Zarn, show me their defenses." Zarn pulled up the latest scans on the main display. The image showed the human settlement from orbit. Small buildings clustered together. Agricultural domes scattered around the perimeter. Mining operations in the hills. A single small spaceport with no military ships. "I see no orbital defenses," Zarn reported. "No weapons platforms. No shield generators. There are no military vessels in the system. The settlement appears to have basic civilian infrastructure only." Vexer studied the images carefully. "What about the buildings themselves? Any hidden weapons?" "We detect standard construction materials," Zarn said. "Concrete, steel, basic composites. Nothing unusual. The largest structures are agricultural processing facilities and a water treatment plant." Another officer spoke up. "Sir, our deep scans show underground chambers, but they appear to be storage facilities and emergency shelters." This is normal for frontier colonies. Vexer stood and walked closer to the display. Everything looked exactly as he expected. The humans had built a simple colony on a resource-rich world. They had no military presence because they never expected to need one. Their confidence was based on ignorance, not strength. They do not understand what they are facing, Vexer said. Very well. We will teach them. Target the mining facility on the northern ridge. Fire one plasma lance. Let us show them what happens to those who defy the Calreth Dominion. On the surface, Helen watched her monitors as the Calreth battlecruiser powered up its main weapon. Deep blue energy began to glow along the length of the massive ship. Here it comes, Patricia Ward said quietly. She was monitoring the defensive systems from her engineering station. Target is Mining Station 7. Everyone is clear from that area? Helen asked. Yes, Danny confirmed. All personnel evacuated to Shelter Complex 3. The plasma lance fired. A brilliant beam of energy shot down from orbit, bright enough to light up the entire sky. It struck the mining facility with tremendous force. The explosion was massive. Fire and smoke rose hundreds of meters into the air. The ground shook. Windows shattered in buildings 2 kilometers away. On his command ship, Admiral Vexer watched with satisfaction. The explosion was spectacular. When the smoke cleared, there should be nothing left but a crater. But as the dust settled, Zarn made a confused sound. Sir, I'm still detecting the structure. What? Vexer demanded. The display updated. Through the smoke and debris, the mining facility was still standing. Its exterior was blackened and scorched. Parts of the roof had collapsed. But the main structure remained intact. The walls had not fallen. That is impossible, Vexer said. Scan it again. Zarn ran multiple scans, his confusion growing. Sir, the walls are 3 meters thick. They are composed of layered titanium ceramic composite armor. This is military-grade construction. And look here. He pointed to new data appearing on the screen. Underground, there are reinforced chambers connected by tunnels. The facility extends 40 meters below the surface. Vexer stared at the images. That is not a mining facility. No, sir, Zarn agreed. It is a fortress disguised to look like a mining facility. Before Vexer could respond, a communication came through from the planet. It was Governor Helen Price. Her voice was calm and steady. You wanted to make this our first and last settlement, Helen said. You should have asked yourselves why we chose this particular world and what we were really building here. Vexer felt a cold sensation in his chest. Scan every building in that settlement. I want to know what they really are. His crew worked frantically. As the detailed scans came in, the truth became clear. The school had walls thick enough to withstand orbital bombardment. Beneath it was an ammunition depot. The hospital had a backup command center in its basement. The water treatment plant was actually a weapons platform with retractable turrets. The agricultural domes concealed missile silos. They have been preparing for this, Zarn said quietly. For years, Vexer's 3 eyes narrowed. How did our intelligence miss this? An analyst stepped forward nervously. Sir, we based our assessment on observations of other human colonies. They all appeared civilian. Simple farms, homes, schools. We assumed Kepler 442 was the same. We never imagined they would disguise a military installation as a colony. You assumed, Vexer said coldly. And now we face an enemy we do not understand. He turned back to the display. The human settlement looked the same as before, but now he knew the truth. Every building was a fortress. Every street was a potential kill zone. The entire colony was designed for one purpose, to survive an attack. They cannot have many weapons, Vexer said, trying to reassure himself. Even with hidden defenses, they are still just 15,000 civilians. We have 4 battlecruisers and thousands of warriors. Zarn looked uncertain. Sir, should we reconsider our approach? No, Vexer said firmly. We have committed to this action. The entire galaxy is watching. If we retreat now, the Calreth Dominion will look weak. We will proceed with the assault. All ships target the settlement. Concentrated bombardment. We will overwhelm their defenses through sheer firepower. The 4 battlecruisers moved into attack formation, their weapons charged simultaneously. From the planet's surface, it looked like 4 new suns had appeared in the sky. In her command center, Helen watched the tactical display. They are committed now. Patricia, are all defensive systems ready? Ready and waiting, Patricia confirmed. The moment they fire, our hidden platforms will activate. Danny, your team's in position? Every sector is covered, Danny said. If they try to land troops, we will be ready. Helen took a deep breath. This was the moment everything had been building toward. 5 years of construction, 5 years of training, 5 years of preparing for a fight they hoped would never come. But it had come, and now the Calreth were about to learn a difficult lesson. Humans did not build settlements to abandon them. They built them to last. They built them to defend. And they built them to win. All stations, this is Governor Price, Helen said over the colony-wide communication system. Protocol Homestead is now fully active. Show them what we are made of. Above the planet, the Calreth fleet opened fire. And below, hidden weapons that had waited years for this moment finally revealed themselves. The real battle for Kepler 442 was about to begin. The Calreth bombardment lit up the sky like a storm of fire. Plasma beams and missiles rained down on the human settlement. Explosions rocked the ground. Buildings that looked like simple homes and shops were hit directly. Many collapsed into rubble. Fire spread through the streets. Admiral Vexer watched from his command ship with grim satisfaction. Continue firing. Do not stop until every structure is destroyed. But then something unexpected happened. From beneath the ruins, metal panels slid open. Large turrets rose up from underground silos. They had been hidden beneath what appeared to be agricultural fields and parking lots. Sir, detecting weapons platforms, Zarn called out. Point defense turrets are activating across the settlement. The hidden turrets opened fire. Streams of high-velocity rounds shot upward, targeting the incoming Calreth missiles. Explosions filled the sky as projectiles met their targets. Many of the Calreth weapons never reached the ground. Impossible, Vexer said. Where did those come from? More surprises followed. What the Calreth had identified as water storage tanks were actually railgun batteries. The massive weapons emerged from concealed housings and aimed at the orbiting ships. Blue-white bolts of electromagnetic energy shot upward at incredible speeds. The first railgun round struck the shields of a Calreth battlecruiser. The shields held, but the impact made the entire ship shudder. Alarms blared on the bridge. Shields at 80%, an officer reported. That weapon has more power than expected. 3 more railgun rounds hit in quick succession. The battlecruiser's shields flickered and failed. The 4th round punched through the hull armor, creating a breach. Atmosphere vented into space. All ships evasive maneuvers, Vexer commanded. Get us out of range of those surface weapons. The Calreth fleet pulled back to a higher orbit. Vexer stared at the tactical display in disbelief. In just minutes, the humans had damaged one of his battlecruisers and shot down dozens of missiles. This was not supposed to happen. How many weapons platforms do they have? Vexer demanded. Zarn worked his console frantically. Difficult to say, sir. Our scans show at least 40 turret positions, but many are still hidden. We cannot get accurate readings because the platforms are buried under meters of rock and metal. On Earth, Commander Jason Blake received real-time updates from the battle. He stood in the command center with Lisa Morgan and Greg Patterson, watching the tactical display. It is working, Lisa said quietly. The Calreth expected an easy target. Instead, they found a fortress. Tell me about Protocol Homestead, a general asked. He had just arrived and did not know the full details. Jason pulled up a presentation. 5 years ago, we anticipated conflicts over the Outer Rim territories. We could not afford to place large military fleets at every colony, so we developed an alternative strategy. We would build the defenses into the colonies themselves. Greg continued the explanation. Selected frontier worlds were reinforced during construction. Every building served a dual purpose. Schools were built over ammunition depots. Hospitals contained backup command centers. Even residential buildings had reinforced basements that could serve as fighting positions. The colonists knew about this? The general asked. Everyone who signed up for Kepler 442 volunteered, Jason said. They knew they were building a fortress disguised as a colony. They trained for years. Every adult colonist has military training. Every child knows where to go during an attack. Lisa pointed to the display. The Calreth made a critical mistake. They scanned from orbit but never landed. They saw what we wanted them to see, a peaceful settlement. They had no idea what was really there. On Kepler 442, Patricia Ward coordinated the defense from deep underground. Her engineering station controlled all the hidden weapons platforms. She watched dozens of screens showing different parts of the settlement. Turret 7 took a direct hit, an assistant reported. The platform is damaged but still functional. Redirect power from Sector 3, Patricia ordered. Keep Turret 7 firing. Above ground, the settlement looked like a war zone. Many surface buildings were destroyed or burning. But that was acceptable. Those buildings were designed to be sacrificed. They protected what really mattered, the underground facilities where the colonists lived and the weapons that defended them. Danny Cooper was in another part of the command center, monitoring ground defenses. The Calreth are moving into landing formation. They are preparing to send troops. Helen Price nodded. Expected. They cannot win from orbit, so they will try a ground assault. Are the kill zones ready? All sectors prepared, Danny confirmed. If they land where we expect, they will walk straight into our traps. 3 Calreth dropships detached from the battle cruisers. They were heavily armored transports, each carrying 200 warriors. The ships descended through the atmosphere, their shields glowing from atmospheric friction. Landing zone is the main plaza, Danny said, watching their approach. Just as predicted, the main plaza had been the center of the colony. It was a large open area surrounded by buildings. To the Calreth, it looked like the perfect landing zone. Flat ground, good visibility, easy to defend once they secured it. But the plaza was a trap. The first dropship touched down. Its loading ramp dropped and Calreth warriors rushed out. They were impressive soldiers, heavily armored and carrying advanced weapons. They moved in disciplined formations, securing the perimeter. Then the buildings around the plaza opened up. Windows that had looked empty suddenly bristled with weapons. Hidden bunkers revealed firing positions. The Calreth warriors found themselves in a perfect crossfire. The humans opened fire from 3 sides simultaneously. Railgun rounds, high-explosive grenades, and armor-piercing ammunition poured into the landing zone. The Calreth tried to return fire, but they had no cover. They were trapped in the open. The second dropship attempted to land but was hit by a surface-to-air missile, while still 50 meters up. The ship crashed into the remains of a building and exploded. The third dropship aborted its landing and retreated back to orbit. In just minutes, 200 Calreth warriors were killed or wounded. The survivors tried to reach cover, but every street leading out of the plaza was blocked by rubble and covered by defensive positions. Admiral Vexor watched the disaster unfold from his command ship. Pull back all landing forces immediately. Zarn looked at the casualty reports. Sir, we have lost almost an entire battalion. Our ships are damaged. We need to reconsider our strategy. Vexor's pride was wounded, but he was not a fool. The humans had prepared for this battle far better than he had anticipated. Every attack the Calreth launched was countered. Every advantage they thought they had was an illusion. How long can they sustain this defense? Vexor asked. Unknown, Zarn replied. But their fortifications are extensive. They have supplies, power generation, and ammunition stockpiles. They could hold out for months. From the planet, a transmission came through. 'Twas Governor Helen Price again. Admiral Vexor, you promised this would be our first and last settlement in the Outer Rim. But we are still here. Your ships are damaged. Your warriors are defeated. How much more are you willing to lose to prove a point? Vexor did not respond. He cut the transmission and turned to his staff. Establish a blockade, he ordered. No ships in or out. If we cannot take the settlement quickly, we will starve them out. This planet has limited resources. Eventually, they will have to surrender. Zarn hesitated. Sir, a siege could take months. High Command will not be pleased with such a long operation. Then they should have given us better intelligence, Vexor snapped. We are committed now. The Calreth Dominion does not retreat. We will break these humans no matter how long it takes. But as the Calreth fleet moved into blockade positions, Helen Price was not worried. She turned to Patricia Ward. How long can we last with current supplies? 18 months minimum, Patricia replied. Longer if we ration carefully. Our geothermal generators provide unlimited power. Our hydroponic farms can feed everyone indefinitely. We have ammunition for years of fighting, Helen smiled. Then we wait. Let the Calreth learn what it means to fight humans on ground we chose. Danny Cooper added. And every day they waste here is a day they are not expanding their empire elsewhere. Every ship sitting in orbit is a ship that cannot threaten other human colonies. The battle for Kepler 442 was far from over. But the first phase had gone exactly as humanity planned. The Calreth learned that human settlements were not easy prey. Now they would learn the second lesson. Humans were very, very patient. Days turned into weeks. The Calreth blockade held firm around Kepler 442. Admiral Vexor refused to give up. His pride would not allow it. The Calreth Dominion had never failed to conquer a target once committed. He would not be the first admiral to fail. Every day, the battle cruisers bombarded selected targets on the surface. They fired carefully, trying to hit weapons platforms and defensive positions. But the humans had hidden their most important assets too well. For every turret the Calreth destroyed, another one appeared from a different location. Inside the underground fortress, life continued. The colonists had prepared for a long siege. Children attended school in reinforced classrooms carved from solid rock. Adults worked shifts maintaining systems, growing food, and defending their home. The air was recycled, the water was purified, and geothermal energy provided unlimited power. Governor Helen Price walked through the main residential section. Families lived in small but comfortable quarters. The walls were bare metal and stone, but people had decorated them with pictures and personal items. It did not look like a military bunker. It looked like a community that refused to give up. A young girl ran up to Helen. "Governor Price, when can we go back upstairs? I miss seeing the sky." Helen knelt down to the girl's level. "Soon, I hope. But for now, we need to stay safe down here. Are you being brave?" The girl nodded seriously. "My dad says we are showing the galaxy that humans do not quit." "Your dad is right," Helen said, smiling. "We are teaching them an important lesson." In the command center, Patricia Ward reviewed damage reports. "We lost another railgun battery last night. The Calreth are getting better at finding our positions. Can we replace it?" Helen asked. "Already working on it," Patricia said. "We have spare parts stockpiled. The new battery will be operational in 3 days." Danny Cooper joined them. "I am more concerned about morale. People are handling the siege well, but it has been 2 months. How much longer can we expect them to stay positive?" Helen considered this. "Schedule more social activities. Movie nights, games, anything to keep people's spirits up. And make sure everyone knows we are winning. The Calreth are the ones losing here, not us." On Earth, Commander Jason Blake was in a meeting with the Colonial Defense Council. The council members were worried. Reports from the Outer Rim showed that 6 more alien species were watching the situation at Kepler 442 closely. "If the settlement falls, we lose credibility," one council member said. "Every species in the galaxy will see that humans can be pushed out of territories we claim." "The settlement will not fall," Jason said firmly. "They are holding against a force 10 times their size. That sends its own message." Lisa Morgan presented the latest intelligence. The Calreth are facing political problems at home. The siege has lasted months with no resolution. They have lost over 500 warriors and suffered significant ship damage. Other Calreth military leaders are questioning whether Admiral Vexer's pride is worth the cost. Greg Patterson added more context. "The Calreth Dominion is expansionist, but they are not unlimited. Every ship they keep at Kepler 442 is a ship they cannot use elsewhere. They have enemies on 3 borders. Tying up 4 battle cruisers for months is weakening their position in other regions. So time is on our side," another council member observed. "Exactly," Jason confirmed. Protocol Homestead was never about winning quick battles. It was about making conquest too expensive. We want other species to look at human settlements and think twice before attacking. Kepler 442 is proving that concept works. Back at Kepler 442, Admiral Vexer received a communication from Calreth High Command. He read the message with growing anger. High Command was questioning his strategy. They wanted results. They were under pressure from other Calreth military commanders who needed those ships for operations elsewhere. "We need to end this quickly," Zarn said carefully. "Perhaps we could negotiate." "Negotiate?" Vexer's voice was cold. "We do not negotiate with inferior species. We conquer them." "Sir, the humans have proven they are not inferior in defensive capability," Zarn pointed out. "They have held out for months against our best efforts." Vexer stood and paced his command deck. "Call for reinforcements. 3 more battle cruisers. We will launch an overwhelming assault. We will hit them with everything we have all at once. They cannot possibly stop 7 battle cruisers firing simultaneously." The reinforcements arrived 2 weeks later. The Calreth fleet now numbered 7 massive warships. They moved into attack formation, their weapons charging. This would be the largest bombardment of the entire siege. On the surface, sensors detected the buildup. Helen called her senior staff together. "They are preparing for a major assault," she said. "All 7 ships powering weapons. This will be bigger than anything we have faced so far." Patricia studied the energy readings. "Our shields can take it, but there will be damage. possibly significant damage. Some of our surface positions will be completely destroyed. Civilian safety? Helen asked. Everyone is in the deep shelters, Danny confirmed. As deep as we can go. Even if they crack the upper levels, the core habitation areas should survive. Helen looked at the tactical display. 7 battle cruisers. More firepower than any human settlement had ever faced. This was the moment that would define everything. Either the fortress would hold or it would break. Send a message to Earth, Helen said. Tell Commander Blake that we are about to face the full might of the Calreth fleet. Tell him that whatever happens, Kepler 442 stood strong. We proved that humans cannot be easily removed. You think we might not survive this? Patricia asked. I think we will, Helen said honestly. But I want our message to be sent before the bombardment begins. Just in case, the message was transmitted. Then Helen addressed the entire colony over the communication system. This is Governor Price. In a few minutes, the Calreth will hit us with everything they have. It will be loud. It will shake the ground. But we have prepared for this. Our fortress was built to survive. Trust in the walls around you. Trust in each other. And remember why we are here. This is our home. We chose this world. We built these defenses with our own hands, and we will not surrender. 3,000 meters above the settlement, Admiral Vexer gave the command. All ships fire at will. Do not stop until the settlement is destroyed. 7 battle cruisers unleashed their weapons simultaneously. The bombardment was apocalyptic. Plasma beams, missiles, and kinetic rounds hammered the surface. The ground shook continuously. Entire sections of the settlement were vaporized. Buildings that had stood for 5 years were reduced to atomic dust in seconds. The assault lasted for 6 hours. When it finally stopped, the surface of Kepler 442 looked like a different world. Craters covered the landscape. Nothing remained standing. The settlement that had looked like a peaceful colony was now a scorched ruin. Admiral Vexer studied the damage. Send down scout drones. I want to confirm the underground facilities are breached. The drones descended through smoke and ash. They scanned the ruins carefully, and then they sent back their report. The underground fortress was damaged but intact. The outer layers were cracked and partially collapsed. But the deep levels where the colonists lived showed minimal damage. Life support was still functioning. Power generators were still running. The humans had survived. Zarn read the report aloud, his voice barely a whisper. Sir, they are still alive down there. Vexer stared at the display in disbelief. He had thrown everything at this settlement. 7 battle cruisers, 6 hours of continuous bombardment. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon, and the humans were still alive. From beneath the ruins, a transmission came through. It was Governor Helen Price. Is that your best, Admiral? We are still here. The words echoed across the command deck. Every Calreth officer heard them. They had given everything, and it was not enough. The humans remained undefeated. For the first time since the siege began, Admiral Vexer felt something unfamiliar. He felt doubt. The next 3 weeks were the hardest of the entire siege. Admiral Vexer, desperate to justify the massive resources spent, committed his ground forces in a final attempt to break the human defense. 4,000 Calreth warriors landed on the planet in armored transports. Unlike the first landing attempt, these warriors came prepared. They landed far from the settlement and advanced on foot, using the ruined buildings for cover. Their mission was to find entrances to the underground fortress and breach the defenses from within. Danny Cooper watched their approach from multiple camera feeds. They are learning. Smart tactics this time. They are not walking into kill zones. But they still have to reach the access points, Helen said. And we know every meter of this terrain. Patricia had worked for days preparing the battlefield. Hidden charges had been placed throughout the ruins. Sensor networks tracked every enemy movement. The Calreth thought they were advancing carefully, but they were walking into a 3-dimensional trap. The first Calreth squad reached what looked like a collapsed building. Beneath the rubble was an entrance to the underground tunnels. The warriors began clearing debris, searching for a way down. Danny pressed a button. The building exploded. The blast was carefully shaped to collapse inward, burying the entire squad. Before the dust settled, human defenders emerged from hidden tunnels behind the Calreth lines. They fired from positions the Calreth had already passed, then disappeared back underground before return fire could reach them. This is our advantage, Danny explained to his team. We built this place. We know every tunnel, every passage, every hiding spot. The Calreth are fighting in our home. The battle became a nightmare for the Calreth warriors. Every time they found an entrance, it was either booby-trapped or led to a dead end. Human defenders appeared from nowhere, attacked, and vanished. The ruins that looked random were actually a carefully designed maze. The Calreth could not advance, but they could not safely retreat either. After 2 days of brutal fighting, the Calreth lost 600 warriors with nothing to show for it. They had not breached a single entrance. They had not captured any human positions. Admiral Vexer had no choice but to recall his ground forces. On his command ship, Vexer received the final casualty reports. Over 1,100 Calreth warriors were dead. 3 battlecruisers were damaged. Supplies were running low, and the human settlement still stood defiant and unbroken. Zarn approached carefully. "Sir, we have received another communication from High Command." Vexer knew what the message would say before he read it. He was right. High Command was ordering him to withdraw. The cost of the operation had become unacceptable. The Calreth Dominion was facing threats on multiple fronts. They could not afford to keep 7 battlecruisers tied up at one human colony indefinitely. "They are ordering us to leave," Vexer said quietly. "Yes, sir," Zarn confirmed. "High Command has decided that the strategic value of this territory does not justify the losses we have sustained." Vexer felt the weight of failure settle on his shoulders. He had promised the Calreth Council that this would be humanity's first and last settlement in the Outer Rim. Instead, it had become a monument to Calreth defeat. "Prepare the fleet to depart," Vexer ordered. "But first, send one final transmission to the humans." The transmission was brief. "You have won, humans, but do not mistake this for weakness. The Calreth Dominion has chosen to withdraw, not because we cannot defeat you, but because you are not worth the cost. Remember that." In the command center on Kepler 442, Helen listened to the message and smiled. He still does not understand. This was never about whether they could defeat us. It was about whether they would be willing to pay the price, and they were not. Patricia pulled up damage assessments. "We took heavy losses. 60% of our surface structures are destroyed. 8 people killed during the bombardments. 32 wounded. But the fortress held. We held." Danny added his own report. "Our defensive systems are still functional. We have ammunition remaining. If they came back tomorrow, we could hold them off again." "But they are not coming back," Helen said. She activated the colony-wide communication system. "Attention, all colonists. The Calreth fleet is departing. The siege is over. We have defended our home successfully." Kepler 442 stands. The cheers that erupted through the underground complex were deafening. Children screamed with joy. Adults hugged each other. Some people cried with relief. They had endured months of bombardment, living underground, never seeing the sun. But they had survived. They had won. As the Calreth ships left orbit, Helen stood in the ruins of the settlement with Danny and Patricia. The surface looked terrible. Buildings were destroyed. The land was scarred by craters. It would take years to rebuild. Was it worth it? Patricia asked quietly. Helen looked at the devastation and then at the sky where the Calreth fleet was disappearing. "Yes, we proved something important. We proved that humans cannot be easily pushed around. Every alien species watching this learned a lesson. Human settlements are not easy targets." On Earth, Commander Jason Blake stood before the Colonial Defense Council. He presented his final report on the siege of Kepler 442. "The colony suffered significant damage but never fell," Jason said. "The Calreth committed 7 battle cruisers and over 4,000 warriors. They lost 1,100 soldiers, sustained heavy ship damage, and achieved nothing. This is exactly what Protocol Homestead was designed to accomplish." Lisa Morgan displayed galactic response data. 16 different alien species have contacted us in the past week. Most are expressing interest in diplomatic relations. Several have specifically mentioned that they respect humanity's determination to defend its territory. Greg Patterson added, "The Calreth Dominion's reputation has been damaged. They publicly stated this would be humanity's first and last settlement in the Outer Rim. Instead, it became a demonstration of Calreth limitations. Other species are noting this." The council members nodded approvingly. One asked, "What about expansion? Will we continue settling the Outer Rim?" Jason smiled. 3 new settlements are already in development. Each will be built according to Protocol Homestead specifications. After what happened at Kepler 442, we expect less resistance from other species. They have learned that attacking human colonies is expensive and likely to fail. 6 months later, Governor Helen Price stood at the dedication ceremony for the rebuilt settlement. The surface structures were new but followed the same design as before. Underneath, the fortress remained stronger than ever. Families who had lived underground for months were finally returning to homes with windows and sunlight. New colonists were arriving, people who had heard about the siege and wanted to be part of something important. Kepler 442 had become famous across human space. A reporter from Earth asked Helen the question everyone wanted answered. "Governor, the Calrith said this would be your first and last settlement. Do you have any message for them?" Helen looked at the camera and spoke clearly. "This is our first settlement in the disputed territories, but it will not be our last. We are humans. We choose where we stand, and once we choose, we do not leave. The Calrith learned that lesson. We hope others will learn it without requiring such a costly demonstration." The reporter smiled. "Some people are calling Kepler 442 the most important victory in recent human history. Do you agree?" "This was not just a victory for one colony," Helen said. "This was a statement to the entire galaxy. Humans build homes and we defend them. We may not have the biggest ships or the most ancient empire, but we have something more important. We have determination, we have patience, and we have the will to fight for what is ours." She looked around at the rebuilt settlement, at the families returning to their homes, at the children playing in streets that had been battlefields just months ago. "The Calrith were right about one thing," Helen continued. "This was the first human settlement in disputed territory. But they were wrong about it being the last. This is just the beginning. Humanity is here to stay." The camera transmitted her words across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, alien leaders watched and understood. The humans were not leaving. They could not be easily intimidated. Any species that wanted to challenge human expansion would pay a heavy price. In orbit around Kepler 442, a new structure was taking shape. It was a space station, designed to support the growing colony and serve as a base for human ships in the region. More settlements were planned. More families were coming. The Outer Rim territories were becoming human space. Admiral Vexer, now disgraced and retired, heard the news from his home on the Calreth homeworld. He watched the reports of human expansion and understood what he had really lost, not just a battle but an opportunity. If the Calreth had negotiated instead of attacked, they might have influenced human expansion. Instead, they had made humanity more determined than ever. The settlement that was supposed to be humanity's first and last had become their foundation. Kepler 442 stood as a fortress, a home, and a symbol. The galaxy had learned what humans were capable of when defending what they built, and humanity was just getting started.